I'd like to call the Audit Committee meeting for February 8th at 9:30 a.m. in the Bell Chase Council Chambers on F. Edward A. Baird Boulevard to order, and the machine is open for roll call. Let the record reflect that all members are present. The auditor is here and his assistant representing the audit department. And at this time, we'll ask Ms. Marcotte to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for attending this morning. And we will move to item number 2.
Review of budget listing.
I got him.
At this point in time, hello.
I got him. I'm a controller from here.
At this point in time, we noted no differences in the revenues or the expenses. Probably the way I look at it is as time goes on throughout the year and expenses start coming in, there's a possibility that we'll have some more differences to talk about. But at this time, there's no exceptions with that report.
So to wrap that up is basically you see the revenues and expenditures working according to the budget.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll move to item number 3.
Audits in progress. 3A, port travel expenses.
Yeah, currently we are working on the port travel expense audit. That audit should be out, we estimate, towards the end of this month. The civil service audit, I have done most of the work on that, and I forecast that audit definitely would be out by February or early March.
Okay, so those 2 audits are in progress.
Yes, sir.
Any comments or questions on these 2 items? Hearing none, we can move to item number 4.
Completed audits. PowerPoint on the ferries audit observations.
Yes, this audit, what I'd like to do is review the ferries audit with the committee. The first slide under audit introduction, we tried to answer 4 questions. Are the deposits accurate, and have they been deposited into the bank in a timely manner? Are there sufficient controls in place over cash? Does the ferry department operate in an efficient and effective manner? And does fraud, waste, abuse, and internal control weaknesses and/or errors exist? Next slide is our observations. The next slide represents the ferry department's organizational structure. Next slide is observation number 1, ferries profit and loss. As you'll note on this slide, 2016 loss of about $4 million, 2017 loss of about $3.5 million. It does not look like that the ferries department is a going concern. I would suggest that the ferries department look and see what their break-even point would be in order to see how much we'd have to charge the customers in order for us to break even in this department. The ferries manager states that he's not sure why the collections went down, although he attributes this possibly to the MV Pride not being in service for most of the year, resulting in crossing of less vehicles and people possibly taking a different route.
And so as a reflection of the difference between, would you go back to the?
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
As a reflection of what the actuals are for 2016 and 2017, although we lost less money on the operation, we also collected less money from 2016 to 2017.
And what I did was I took a look at the expenditures relating to the deposits for 2017 and the expenditures went way down in 2017. The particular expenditures that went way down was boat maintenance, and it went way down in relation to 2016, almost $500,000. So that possibly could be what the ferries manager is talking about with the NV Pride not being in service.
And do you know if that was maintenance repairs were like a breakdown or something to that effect?
Yeah, I couldn't really tell, but it looked like some of the ones that I looked at had to do with fixing, repairing the engines on the boat.
Okay. So the summary of this is that we provided less service and we lost less money and we collected less money.
Yes, sir. The revenue, the cash collections went down by $47,000. And when you really look at it, at that overall, it really doesn't look like that is material at all, although 47,000, if that money has been misappropriated, that's a lot of money, but I didn't, my audit did not reveal anything like that. A possibility of misappropriation. I don't think that happened.
Okay. We can move on, thanks. No question. Mr. Alvin, 1 second, Mr.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Would there be any
Hold on,
other?
hold on.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me go to the mic control. Go ahead.
Mr. Duke,
Yes, ma'am.
would there be any other recommendation on trying to levelize the losses against the gains, other than raising, you mentioned possibly raising the toll to try and,
That would be a tough sell, I think.
yeah, I think it would be.
I
And
think
I would
right
be
now,
interested in
considering-
trying to look other ways and other avenues other than to put an additional tax on the public.
I think the only other way would be to reduce expenses. You know, reduce salaries and wages possibly is the first thing people reduce in order to increase their profit. But I don't think that would be a good thing to do either. Maybe reduce the number of boats possibly, and to reduce the number of maintenance costs. Boats are very, very expensive item. If you're going to run a ferry operation, I looked over in the New York ferry. I mean, they lose money over there as well. And the main reason they lose that money is because of the high cost of maintenance of those boats. So this department's not the only one around the country. All these ferry operations lose money, it appears. And they just accept it. It appears they accept that as a loss on their books.
What about, I'm just throwing some thoughts out. What about the reduction in operation?
Yeah, operating, that's what I was saying, operational, and the area that you can reduce would be, you know, your operating expenses, supplies, anything to do with that, but that's not a whole lot. The main area that's causing this loss is boat maintenance. And you'd have to do some sort of operational thing with the boat. Maybe just have one boat, you know.
Maybe one boat, or what I was alluding to, or maybe not traveling have pickups every half hour, have a pickup every 2 hours or every hour or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I thought of that as well, and I was thinking that would cause disruption, you know, with, you know, the taxpayers as well, but that is a possibility that I have looked into. And I think we may have broached that with Mr. Horton as well, but I don't think he agrees.
Yeah, the last thing I would want to see is reduction in a layoff with the employees and a boost in taxation, so.
Yeah, it does look like this has been going on for quite a while, and it appears that the taxpayers are okay with this.
Okay.
Complete your remarks?
Yes.
The issue about, I've always heard that possibly changing the schedule somewhat to not run as late might help
That would help.
offset some of the costs because of the scheduling of the employees. There's an overlap, or there's something there that could be possibly a cost savings, because I don't think anybody anticipates reduction of wages or manpower because we're always short in that department to begin with. And it's an essential service that we have provided for many, many years, as you've stated, and we've lost money for many, many years. I guess the goal is to just lose less.
That's correct, sir.
And so maybe a review of the operating hours might be of some benefit to us. Mr. Juneau?
Yes, sir.
I think by using the smaller boat, they saved a lot on fuel. And that's the main thing. Maybe we can park the bigger one and just use it for special times and just keep using the smaller one, and that'll cut back. Because I think the big boat uses twice as much fuel as the smaller one.
It does appear that way.
Okay,
Our
thank
review
you.
showed that as well. It may be a good thing for the audit committee to consider, maybe for me to do an operational audit or a performance audit on the ferries department.
Yes.
And look at some really areas where we can save some money for the taxpayer. Might want to put that on the schedule.
Yes, I would, that would be a great idea.
Yeah, I would agree with that. After we review these observations, so to speak, these are ferry audit observations. They're really for us to look and see which direction to go, but I think the committee is probably agreeable for you to move in that direction to look at the operation of the hours and so forth, as you just stated.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, proceed.
Okay. Observation number 2 concerns time clocks. The Ferries Department and the Internal Audit Department are in agreement that time clocks are not needed at the Ferries Department because the Ferries Department has some compensating controls in place, such as the ferry does not leave the dock until they have a full crew. That's one compensating control. The other compensating control is that the ferries manager will let him know if someone doesn't show up or is late for work, and then they adjust their timesheets accordingly. Those two, and from my observation during this audit, it appears those controls are compensating controls that would be put in place instead of a time clock.
No.
Observation number 3, consideration of toll tags or credit cards. Best practices discourages the use of cash whenever possible. And for myself, during my career, I've tried to stop that wherever possible. And in this situation, I'd like to stop it here as well. I'd like to see the Ferries Department convert over to a credit card system. Or I have, a colleague of mine said, hey, Randy, why don't you suggest something similar to a toll tag system like the Causeway uses? I've tried to look at some different operations throughout the country. Nobody seems to be using that toll tag system. Although in my opinion, I do think it would be something that would work. If you just had the sticker just like they do on the Causeway on your windshield, and you just drive up onto the ferry and it's scanned in, and then everything's computerized, and you don't have to worry about not only do you not have to worry about cash, but you don't have to worry about it automatically will calculate the type and number of vehicles that come onto the ferry. So if it's like a truck that gets charged $2, that's automatically entered into the system. If you have just a single axle charging $1 or a motorcycle, all that would be entered into the toll system. And then that way you'd have a real accurate type and number of vehicles that got on the boat, and we wouldn't be concerned about, hey, look, did this vehicle get on the boat, and were they let on the boat for free, that sort of thing. So that's something to look at, but the cost of that would probably be a little bit more than Plaquemines where we want to spend. So I'd still rather go with the credit card system.
The credit card system and the problem that I see with the operational aspect of that it would slow down considerably the loading of the boat.
Yeah.
Secondly, it would be toll tags would be available, but there are a lot of people that cross that boat that would not have a toll tag. And so, you know, I mean, although in a perfect world your idea would work, I don't know that it would work in this situation because of the fact that, you know, we've got a tight schedule that we load and unload, you know, and we have a tight condition for weather. They work in the rain, you know, try to swipe a credit card on an electronic device in the rain probably wouldn't work. I would prefer that we looked at something in your operational cost as perhaps a lockbox, as you see over on the Chalmette ferry, and that kind of controls the cash. It also has a downside because they don't give change. But at the same time, the toll tag, I don't know, as you said, would be too expensive probably, and also would be maybe utilized just by some residents because the traffic there, I don't know that everybody would get a toll tag is my point.
Yeah, and I believe the ferries manager stated a lot of those same ideas, you know, in his comments. You know, first of all, he states that to his knowledge, no one has ever stolen money during his tenure, as well as he thinks the credit card system would have the possibility of not working because it would slow down traffic, very similar to what you just said, and also because of weather conditions as well. So the ferry manager agrees with you, Mr. Roussel, on this, but I have such a, you know, I have seen cash, you know, be misappropriated over my career so many times. It's very, very difficult to tie it down. You know, for me, I'd rather see the ferry operation over in Alabama does use the credit card system. They have bad weather over there all the time, and it seems to work over there. However, their ferry does not load and unload as many cars and trucks and motorcycles as we do. That's the only difference. But they seem like it does seem like the credit card system does work over there in Alabama very well. And they have storms and everything all the time over there.
Yeah. Okay. You can review that again in your operational scheme.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that we will be looking for a remedy to the problem, but the one that's most cost effective. You know, considering the financial situation that the parish is in, I think we should look for the most cost effective way of handling this.
Yes, ma'am. I'll focus on that during the operational audit.
Okay.
Observation number 4, safeguarding assets. It was noted during our review that the captain confirms the cash collected, but also places the money into an unlocked desk drawer for a period of time before it's deposited into the bank. We would recommend that this desk drawer be locked with only certain people either having a key or the combination to the lock. The ferry manager states that I believe he's in agreement with that. I think he is going to lock that desk drawer. However, he does state that only, you know, certain people cannot just have the key. A lot of people are going to have the key or the combination in order for it to work. But we've spoken to the ferry manager, and he's going to try to do the best he can with securing those funds.
So he agrees that he's going to lock the drawer?
He does agree that it needs to be locked, absolutely.
Okay.
The next item are independent reconciliations. I believe that we should have an independent person watching the vehicles coming onto the ferry and recalculating the cash collected by the deckhand and the captain, and then reconciling the independent person's figures with their figures. When I say calculations in accordance with the ordinance, what I mean is that the ordinance states that, you know, this vehicle will be charged $1, this vehicle $2. And so you take what the ordinance is stating and you multiply that times the number of vehicles, and you come up with the money that you should have on hand, and compare that to what the captain has as well as an additional check. Now, what I'm thinking as well is that the Internal Audit Department should be involved in this, and go out there on a routine basis or a surprise basis. And I'll get into that, I believe, in the next couple of slides. And so we could also help in that. The ferry manager does say that he's shorthanded, but he's going to try to spot that as well.
So his response, he says, I do not see where in the ordinance it states we need to have an independent employee. So, I mean, is he cooperating and willing? Because just because the ordinance doesn't say something doesn't mean that he doesn't have the obligation to step forward and try to make it better.
I think he did a very professional job with cooperating with us when we were doing this audit. And I just think he misunderstood what I was saying. I was saying in accordance with the ordinance, but I didn't mean that what he thought. What I meant was the ordinance states how much each vehicle is going to be charged. And so what I was thinking in accordance, the independent employee is going to do the calculations in accordance with that part of the ordinance.
Is there a possibility that some of this verification can be done remotely by camera?
That's a very good possibility. Yes. Yeah, we can review the tapes on that and maybe do.
I mean, if we have a live feed of people loading and unloading the boat on a continuous basis that you can just log into and view, you could do a spot check from your office.
Yes, that's a very good suggestion.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any more questions on that item?
The next item is customer receipts. And the Internal Audit Department's opinion, every customer should get a customer's receipt. And the ferry department states that not everyone asks for a receipt, which is understandable. Not everyone wants one. And it says in bad weather, it's hard to give out receipts as well. But this would be a very good additional control if everyone got a receipt, a pre-numbered receipt, and at the end of the day, I could go back, I could pull all of these receipts, and I could compare that to the cash collected and received, which would really help provide the council and the audit committee with additional assurance that all the money has been accounted for.
Any comments? Hearing none, move on.
The next observation would be performance of surprise cash accounts. I think that's something the Internal Audit Department is going to do as well. We're going to go out there on an unannounced basis and count the vehicles, check the vehicles, and recalculate the cash.
Okay.
Segregation of duties. You have to have authorization, custody of assets, and preparation of documents separated. You always have to have two eyes on every transaction. It was noted the captain prepares the cash deposit as well as the deposit ticket. Those two items should be separate. We should have someone else preparing the deposit ticket that's separated from any handling of the cash.
Yes.
He states he's not really sure what employee would do that. He's low on crew members. I understand his situation. That's something that really needs to be done.
Well, on every boat there's an engineer.
Yes, sir.
Now, if anyone has flexible time, would be the engineer. The deckhands are working around the shift, tying up the boat, loading the boat, and unloading the boat. The engineer could possibly be inserted into this as being another party that would have the ability to do that.
Yes, sir. That's a
In my opinion, anyway.
That's a good recommendation. Yep.
Any other comments on this item?
Yeah, my conclusion for this audit is that I believe the observations noted 1 through 8 would improve overall internal controls for the Ferries Department if implemented. I do think that our audit and observations showed that the Ferry Department has good operations in place. They have good controls in place. The questions at the beginning of the audit were answered. If I go back to that, It appears that the cash deposits, the best that we could tell, and we did a thorough examination, are accurate, deposited into the bank on a timely basis. They have sufficient controls in place if they address our observations. The Ferries Department does operate in an effective and efficient manner, I think, at this point in time. However, we will do an operational audit to see if we can improve that. We did not note any fraud, waste, or abuse. The internal control weaknesses are strengthened if we put in place observations 1 through 8. Didn't note any significant errors as well.
Okay.
That concludes the review of the Ferries Department audit.
Let me recognize Mr. Juneau.
Yes, sir. Did the deckhands or the ones collecting money have to go to any class, or were they just told, go out there and collect your money? I think that would be a good idea. If they would have a 15-minute, 20-minute class with the manager, and also maybe with the audit department to explain to them what to do and what not to do. Because they probably were just thrown into it, and they just out there like leaning on a stump. They don't know exactly what to do. That's what I believe when I see them work. I might be wrong, but that would be a good recommendation, I think.
We can look into that during the operational and performance examination.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes, no, the only comment that I would have, is not in regards to what have already been spoken, is that I noticed on the agenda, there's no listing of old business or new business. Is there any way we can include old business and new business as a part of the agenda? Because there's something that I would like to, just a question that I have.
Okay, would you like to suspend the rules to add item number 6 to the agenda?
Yes,
And that item being
old business.
Business
old business?
and new business.
Ms. Salvat moves to add an item to the agenda today for discussion, old business. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Juneau. Any final discussion? Hearing none, the machine is open. And the item is added to the agenda. Ms. Trufant?
Yes, I think we already initially listed, the audit committee listed a number of departments that we wanted to be audited. And I'm not sure if the ferries is going to be the last one of that request. Is that the last?
No, we have on the audit, I don't have that list in front of me, the audit schedule, but we have 12 audits and we've only completed 2 at this point. However, the civil service and the port travel will be done in February and March. So that'll give us 4 audits towards the annual audit plan for the year. It does appear that we are completing 2 audits, or 1 audit every 2 months. It seems like that's how it's working.
Okay.
However, sometimes we may get, during some periods, depending on the type of audit and the work, we may get 1 audit per month out. But it does appear to be the trend over the last 4 months that I've been working with you, that we are going to have 2 audits out every month. That appears the way it's working.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping to get as many audits finished on that audit plan. We have 12, but I'm not sure. I think that I'll be really satisfied if I can get 10 of those done, or 9 or 8, or even, and if the trend goes the way it looks, we only may be getting 6 done for the whole year.
And I want to say, Mr. Duke, that I'm satisfied with the way you're moving along with the audits. I have no complaints of that, but just lying in bed last night, I was thinking, and I would like to have our grant department added to the audits. If I don't think that was a request in the past.
It's not a written
Yes, and I would like to.
And we need to approve that during this committee meeting. That would be fine.
Okay.
I will add that to it.
Okay, what we can do is we can add an item on next agenda to review the audit, the annual audit plan schedule, and we can make amendments at that time.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And, no, I think that in light of no audits being done for many years, the fact that we have accomplished 2 complete audits since you've been here is pretty remarkable. So
Oh, absolutely. I'm
I applaud the fact that we are producing audits now, and we have an active audit committee up and running and an audit department up and running, and the fact that we are able to sit here and review these observations and move forward with recommendations to improve the operations, I think is a great step forward. So thank you for your work, and I don't have any other comments at this time.
Well, not only thank Mr. Duke and our audit department for their work, I would like to commend my 2 colleagues, because I think this has been one of the more effective committees, as Mr. Russo alluded to, earlier. And this is not to take a strike at nobody, but I agree. I think we've accomplished much within the realm of this committee, of course, with a lot of your help, Mr. Duke
I just
and
want to say
Mr.
I've been on
Fontenot.
a lot of audit committees, and I have not had so much help as I've had from this audit committee. I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further business to come before us before we move to the minutes under old business? Hearing none, we'll move to item number 5.
Approval of the minutes from the January 11, 2018 meeting.
I move.
Ms. Salvant moves, Mr. Juneau seconds. Any comments or discussion on approval of the minutes? Hearing none, machine is open. And the minutes are adopted for the January 11, 2018 meeting. Is there any other business to come? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Councilman Juneau moves to adjourn. Ms. Salvant seconds, and the machine is open. And the meeting is adjourned at 10:02. Thank you all for participating. We'll see you next time.